Are you wondering how to tell if your rabbit is pregnant or not? That's what we're going to discuss in today's video, so stick around. Hey guys, welcome back to another Slightly Rednecked video. Again, my name's Chris. If you're not familiar with this channel, I help you to produce your own meat, eggs, and vegetables from your backyard, your balcony, your deck, your garage, or heck, even a spare room in your house if that's the way you want to do it. Today we're talking about how to tell if a rabbit is pregnant or not. This is a question that came to me from a viewer recently, and I get this question quite a bit. Let me start off by saying it is incredibly difficult to know for sure if your rabbit is pregnant or not. What I always suggest is that you keep your bucks and your does separate so that you know whenever the breeding took place. If you had a successful breeding, and if you're questioning what that is, I'll put a link up here to a video on how to breed your rabbits so you'll know exactly what that looks like whenever the breeding is successful. But if you did have a successful breeding, there's probably a 95% chance that your rabbit is pregnant. I would bet on it. Put the nest box in at the appropriate time, about 28 days, and you're probably going to be good to go. But if, let's say for example, your rabbit got out of the cage, or maybe there was some access to them. You got a new rabbit. You don't know if it's pregnant or not. Somebody told you it might be pregnant. So the things that you might want to look for if you're not sure that there was a successful breeding or not, but you think your rabbit might be pregnant. First things first, look for behavioral changes. Most of the time when a rabbit gets pregnant, there will be some slight behavioral changes. Now, if you don't know the rabbit real well, you haven't had it for a long time, this may be difficult. But the things you might look for is, for example, you have a rabbit that was always very calm, very easy to handle, and then suddenly becomes very grumpy, doesn't like to be handled at all. That's a good sign that that rabbit may be pregnant, and that's why the change in behavior. Also, if you've had a rabbit, conversely, the other way around, that may be really grumpy all the time, doesn't like to be handled, and then all of a sudden becomes very friendly, very easy to handle, again, a behavioral change that may indicate that the rabbit is pregnant. Some other things you might look for is a slight increase in appetite. Now, I don't notice too much that pregnant rabbits eat that much more, but they do have a tendency to have a little bit of an increase in appetite, or they may change their appetite a little bit. So you may have a rabbit that primarily eats pellets and very little hay, and then all of a sudden she's eating all of her pellets and all of her hay every day, or eating all of her hay and not eating many of her pellets every day. Those are behavioral changes as well that you might look for that are good signs that your rabbit may be pregnant. Now, one of the other things that you can check for, which is almost a for sure sign that the rabbit is pregnant, is if you throw some straw in the cage and she picks it up, starts running around the cage with it hanging out both sides of her mouth. It's a very obvious thing. It's not the same as just throwing the straw around, nibbling on the straw, any of those things. She'll pick it up and have like 3 or 4 pieces hanging out both sides of her mouth, and she'll walk around the cage with it like that, looking to build a nest. The only problem with that is that usually doesn't occur until the very end of the pregnancy. So, day 27, day 25 on, somewhere right around in there, when she starts building her nest. Sometimes a lot of does, I should say, don't do that until like the day before they kindle, the day before they have their babies. So, that is a for sure sign, but it's, again, very late in the pregnancy, so it's not really something that you could use all the time, or wouldn't be something that you could use early in the pregnancy. Unfortunately, again, it's very difficult to know for sure if your rabbit is pregnant. Now, one technique you can use, if the doe is at least 14 days pregnant, you can palpate the doe to see if you can feel babies inside. That's incredibly difficult to do, and I'll show you a technique on that because it's much easier to demonstrate it than it is to just talk about that. But again, very, very hard to do. Without experience, the first couple of times you do it, you're not going to know what you're doing. It's not necessarily a for sure thing. You may palpate, not feel anything, think the doe's not pregnant when she very well may be, especially if she's got a very small litter, only 3 or 4. It's going to be very hard to feel those babies inside of her. But let me get her out of the cage because I'm going to show you how to do that anyway, and we'll get right to it. Okay, this is my Flemish New Zealand cross doe. She's not pregnant right now, but that's the only way I can show you exactly how to tell whether she's pregnant or not. Let me get her turned around because I'm right-handed. I want to use my right hand to do the palpating. So get her out, get your rabbit out of the cage. It's nice if you have a rabbit that's kind of calm. You might cover her eyes up a little bit, kind of keep her kind of calm, get her to relax a little bit. And what you're going to be feeling for is your fingers, your 2 fingers and your thumb. You're going to put it underneath the rabbit, and you're going to feel underneath the rabbit up in her abdomen. From about this point in the rabbit back is where the uterus is. Now, what you're feeling for is some small balls. They're going to be about the size of a grape, and they're going to feel firm but yet a little bit squishy. You have to be very careful because if you go too far forward, you'll feel fecal matter instead. It's going to be a little bit smaller and it's going to be much firmer, much harder, but it's not uncommon to mistake that for babies in the rabbit. But the way you're going to do this, again, is I'm going to reach underneath her with my 2 fingers. You're going to press firm but not hard. You don't want to injure the babies if they're in there, but you do need to have a fairly firm grip, and you're going to kind of work your way from about here on back, just kind of easy squeezing the abdomen up underneath and feeling through there for babies. It's, again, very difficult to do. So, and again, you're going to have to push fairly firm to get her to, so you can feel anything, and just work your way back and through there. And again, this rabbit's not pregnant. I don't feel anything at all, but if I did right here, right in this area right here, is probably where you're going to feel that. And again, they're going to feel about like grapes, small but firm. And that's pretty much how you palpate a doe. If you are not experienced at that, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to do. You can definitely try it, but if you don't feel anything at all, I would not rule out that your doe is pregnant. Go out every couple of days, throw a handful of straw in the cage, see if she picks it up, starts running around with it, hanging out both sides of her mouth. If she does, she's pregnant, she's about ready to have babies, stick a nest box in there and prepare for it. All right, so one more time, again, it's very, very difficult to tell if your rabbit is pregnant or not. So again, I recommend keeping your bucks, your does separate, monitor the breeding, schedule the breeding so that you know when you have a successful breeding. And if you had a successful breeding, count on your rabbit being pregnant, treat her as if she is, and you know, prepare the nest box and all those kinds of things as if she was pregnant. Hopefully this video helped you guys out. Hopefully you learned something from it. Thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate that. And as always, God bless.